All right, let's go ahead and call the committee together. Please note attendance. Joe Johnson is here. Kara Johnson is here. Staff and mayor are also here. Right now, we'll move into approval of the agenda. Are there any revisions or comments in regards to the agenda as shown? Okay, here are none. We'll go ahead, we'll consider the agenda as presented as approved and move into. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment before the committee? Please raise your hand on, I guess, online. Can't do it in person. I am seeing no hands raised. So I will assume no public comments and we will close that section. And I'm not going to read that little bit of text. All right, we'll move on then to the minutes from January 3rd. Are there any questions, comments, or revisions in regards to the minutes as presented in the package? Chair has none. Kara, I see you nod your head. Joe, are you okay? Joe, are you hearing us? There he is.
There we go.
There you go. All right. Any objections to approving the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll take the minutes as presented as approved. With that, we'll move on to approval of warrants and claims dated January 22nd, 2024. I have no questions in email in regards to these claims and warrants, and I personally have no questions this time. Kara, Joe, do you have any questions in regards to the warrants?
I only have a general process question. So historically, what I've done is I've kind of taken the F&A committee's word on things. I'll glance at it to see if there's anything that stands out. But what we did before the pandemic was I believe there was like a binder or something that had like signatures, and it just was full of all kinds of stuff. And I remember looking at it once, like years ago, and then I believe that with the pandemic, that practice stopped because people weren't going in, obviously. I'm wondering, has that resumed? Is there still a spot where I can see that more detailed report, or is what we're given the agenda packet in FNA kind of what we get now?
Drew, you want to answer that? You want me to take a shot at?
So feel free to take a shot at it if you want to. Yeah.
I believe that background information is available. That if we have a particular item based on the warrant review that we want further background on, Drew and others can help us pull that data together to find out. Typically, we've gotten into the practice of any items of question, we would throw an email to Drew to say, hey, you know, Argyle socks from Walmart, why? And he would go through and find again who signed off on the purchase, what the purchase was for, what was justification.
Okay.
How'd I do, Drew?
I think that sounds great to me. Just so that the council members are aware, we have updated the report. So consequently, I know we presented this at the first F&A committee meeting in January as well, but the claims warrant report has been updated because we have moved to Munis when it comes to that. So you will find more detail, at least a little bit more description as a part of that report moving forward, which will hopefully resolve maybe some of the questions you would have. Some of that was a bit more vague in the past, and so we're hoping to clean that up a little bit without necessarily having to go directly into each and every single claim. But like Councilmember Holloway mentioned to you, feel free to email us when you get this claims approval report packet and you go through it. Feel free to email us with any questions you may have, and we can hunt down the answer for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Having said that, any objection to approving the claims report as presented?
No, that was what I wanted. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So we'll consider the claims report as presented as approved. Thank you. Let's move on to Agenda Bill 24014, Council 2024 meeting schedule. My first question is, do we need to discuss this or can we just take that to council?
We could take it to council. I just wanted to introduce the yearly calendar to show everyone when the meetings are, kind of a visual of when all of our meetings are.
Yep.
And then staff is just kind of trying to do some forward thinking on the year and would like council to consider a couple of cancellations later on, just for time off, work-life balance and whatnot.
Having said that, Dina, you want to bring that up and let's look at that calendar real quick, if you could.
So I'm not sure who's sharing, but so I have so many things open. I'm sorry.
I know the feeling.
Hold on a second. I wasn't prepared for that. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. If it's well, and actually, if you want, I can share it real quick. I've got it up.
I think I got it.
Okay.
Do you see the agenda, Bill?
Yep.
Okay, so let me go back over to here and then we can look at the schedule. So here's the schedule for the year. And then the lavender purplish ones are our normal Monday meetings. So that would be the Public Safety Committee and CD Committee. And then the yellows are Parks and Public Works Committee and Finance and Administration Committee. And then the light blues are the council meetings. And then the grays are holidays. And then also the proposed, if council were to consider canceling the August and then December meeting, then those would be grayed out as well.
Yeah. I guess personally, I'm okay with the December one, considering it's right there on Christmas. I'm uncomfortable with declaring the August as a pass date this early in the year till we get there. Any comment from the rest of the committee? Go ahead, Kara.
I'm probably generally agreeable to both. If we end up, excuse me, needing to call an initial meeting, I'd be happy to do that in August. So that's, you know, it does give staff the ability to plan if they need to and call in remotely if it's necessary. And I have no issues at all with canceling the December.
One other thing is, and I don't think that we've quite gotten there, but I'm sure that there will be a separate budget calendar coming out. So there will be additional meetings for the budget preparation.
Yeah, for allowing folks to book out in advance, you know, lodging and stuff if they wanted to take a vacation over summer. I think it'd be nice for staff to have the time to be able to do that. And again, they could call in remotely if needed in the middle of their break. But hey, you know, I've done it before. Folks can do that. So I've always been rather partial to the idea of giving staff heads up on a day that they could have off in summer, and no problems with the December date.
Okay. But I'm not proposing change here. We'll take it to council and discuss it Monday.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dina.
Okay.
And get back to with that, the next agenda item is agenda bill 24016 2024 salary schedule longevity pay for MMP. Who will talk that with us?
Well, I do not see our illustrious city administrator with us tonight, so I will take a shot at this one. The intent of this agenda bill is to establish the 2024 salary schedule for the non-represented M&P employee group. So that includes people like me, others that provide a lot of analysis for the city overall, and others that generally have a confidential nature at the city. In addition, this agenda bill has a relatively new element to that, and that is the inclusion of longevity pay system for non-represented staff that would replace the pay for performance system that you'll see in a complementary agenda bill, AB 24-017. The salary schedule would establish employees at the 60th percentile of comparable cities, which is originating from the January 2023 classification and compensation study, as well as provide a 6% cost of living adjustment, which both are equal to the recently approved Teamsters collective bargaining agreement that council passed last year. Furthermore, this agenda bill would establish an increase in pay for those providing enduring service, like I said, regarding longevity pay, replacing the pay for performance system. It also would increase the number of steps from 3 to 9 as a part of this as well, and replace automatic step increases on anniversary dates with step increases based on a satisfactory performance evaluation, which the administration will need to come back and discuss with you later. The 2024 salary schedule longevity pay system would be retroactive to January 1st, 2024. As a part of your information in your packet, we provide several principles that have kind of led us to the conclusion here, which is to encourage the attraction and retention of high caliber employees, provide a fair, equitable, and competitive total compensation package, reward individuals as well as organizational success, ensure that the compensation provided is easy to explain, understand, and administer, as well as balance the city's needs to be competitive with the limits of available financial resources. And lastly, as a part of your agenda packet, you'll see a table of the COLAs approved over the past 6 years and how that compares against the CPIW, which is a measure of inflation overall. And then in addition, like I suggested to you, this is we have a complementary agenda bill tied to this as well that relates to repealing the pay for performance system too. In terms of budget impacts overall, what we see over the 2-year period is a roughly $8,000 increase to the city overall, provided that council approves both agenda bills, primarily because the pay for performance system going away certainly would reduce the city's expenses a lot more than implementing the longevity pay system necessarily would, along with the 60th percentile and 6% COLA. So with that said, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Okay. Committee, any questions? Go ahead, Kara.
Yeah, so I just had a quick question. As I was going through the documents, I understand and looked through the fact that we'd be repealing 806, but that seems to have the criteria that are used to evaluate whether or not that person would get the added bonus. And if we're repealing all of that, is there a separate framework that goes into play then that will determine whether they're able to get their next step up?
So the administration is working on that to set up what that looks like overall, and we'll probably bring it back to you at a future date for consideration. We may just keep some of the same elements, but we haven't really, I think, considered that fully quite yet. But our intention is to move forward with any sort of step increases would be based on a performance evaluation.
Okay. It would just obviously be neater if we had that available to make sure that as we were repealing the one thing that we had something else in place as we were moving forward with the next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, you're helping me over my emotional issue here. One, I'd prefer we not call it longevity pay. It's, grade level, whatever within the job classification. And it's, as you were saying, it's performance based to go from grade to grade to grade, not that just you've been warming a seat for X number of years. Okay. Longevity implies I'm just hiring somebody to stay here and I'm not checking to see how they're, if they're overperforming, underperforming, or just performing, should have some change on how they progress through those steps. Mayor, you have your hand up.
I was just going to say the performance review. I've already reviewed what it looks like. It's going to be brought up with directors, and they have a draft they're going to try out with an employee this month. So it's already developed, but you can see that soon. Longevity pay, there has to be some type of reward for being here. We have someone that's been for 25 years and he's already maxed out at step 9. And so giving them some type of reward for being here is important.
Again, if they're performing. If they're not performing, it's immaterial how long they've been here. In Holloway's opinion. Okay. So then, so Drew, help me. All right. Oh, no, never mind. Joe, you have a question?
Yeah. And again, since I'm not on my phone this time, tell me how my audio is doing and all that. I know it wasn't so great before. Okay, so looking at the amount of the expenditure, I want to make sure that I understand the time period that is being covered and what exactly that applies to, and that will probably lead me to a follow-on question. But it says somewhere around 8,500 some odd. So that is the net increase that this category of employees would be receiving. Is that correct?
Yes, over the 2-year period.
Okay, so this is over a
Well,
2-year
actually,
period.
yeah, that's a part of the budget. Sorry.
So that
So
was
24.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's what I was going to ask. Yeah, so this covers the increase to the appropriation, if that's the right word, for 23 and 24, correct?
Yes. So in essence, it's an additional cost, but we could likely cover this with the
Yeah.
appropriation the way it is, which is why
Okay.
we're not asking for an appropriation increase necessarily at this
Okay.
time.
Okay, that helps. And then the only other question is, for how long is the duration of this proposal? Does it only cover 1 year and then we come back next year? Does it cover 2025? Just trying to get the sense of how long this covers.
Yeah. So in essence, this would just cover 2024. Ideally, in December, we will bring you back another agenda bill with potentially a COLA increase and maybe some changes to whatever the administration may want to propose at that time. And then at that time, council would either approve or reject a proposal for 2025 for non-represented staff.
Okay,
It's not a collective bargaining agreement. So if you happen to reject that proposal for 2025, then 2024 and what you happen to adopt, if you happen to adopt this, would still stand and remain in place.
Okay, that helps a lot. Then I am not too concerned about projecting forward then, because we can always deal with that as we need. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Carrie, you had your hand up. You put it down.
Yeah, I did. I answered my own question, but thank you.
Okay, so Drew, I guess question I have. So help me out. I'm looking at the table item 4. And I'll pick on city attorney for that one. So we've got a city attorney. We'd make some judgment as to where they are within the steps, based on the 60% and 6% COLA. We'd put him on a step, and then potentially based on a performance review later on, he may increase a step at a later stage. Correct?
Yes. So
Okay.
in essence, we got him onto this new wage scale. We know exactly how much they've been paid for 2023, all non-represented staff. In essence, they got the step nearest to them that wasn't less than what they were currently making. In many cases, just very slightly more to put them onto this scale. So if they were already at step 3, for example, within the new scale, someone may be placed at step 5 and still have 4 more steps kind of left to go. Because step 5 was nearest to where they were at step 3 within our current 3-step system the council adopted for 2023. When we place them into this scale, we then apply the 6% COLA on top of that to figure out how much they're going to be making in 2024. And then we've exchanged the pay for performance, which we often budget for, at 4%. So the program is 4% of everyone's total salary. Remove that applied any sort of longevity pay that may be a consequence of that. And then if they happen to earn a step increase through the performance evaluation process, that will be in place for either this year, if it takes place, if they have an anniversary date this year, or potentially next year as well. Or whenever their anniversary date, I think, rolls around. And the mayor can correct me if I'm wrong. So
You're right.
Let me state up front, I have an emotional hard time with longevity pay. I would prefer that money be put into the steps. The assumption is that when you hire a new hire, he comes in at a lower step. And as they perform their function and they get better at it and learn it, you progress in the steps. So in essence, how long you're in the job helps you get through those steps. Okay, but it's not just because you've been here it's over 16 years doing the same job at the same performance level that you hired at, I'm still going to give you a 5% bump. Okay, it's just I have an emotional hard time with that. But being a 37-year employee at Boeing, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, Kara. You have your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a quick question based on what Director Boutte said. So, Drew, if someone is going through, assuming this gets passed, and their anniversary date is February 1st, does that mean that they'd be eligible for that next step next month?
Yes. So ideally, if they were at, say, step 2 this past year, they would have received a step increase automatically in February of 2023. And so consequently, when they're placed now on this new scale, they may not be at the top step immediately. And so consequently, their next anniversary date would be February 2024. In which case a performance evaluation may be taking place at that time that would reflect the total year between their anniversary date in 2023 up till February of 2024. And I think we're still working on that in the background as well, because it may just coincide with the entirety of the year. In that case, we'll have further kind of follow-up discussions on that with council.
Yeah, because I would just have a couple concerns just in that, if we're completely changing the way that we're going to be grading performance and things like that without giving them the opportunity and the notice ahead of time of what they're supposed to be working towards, then that could lead to some potential issues there. And then I had thought for some reason that these were done on a calendar basis for reviews, but maybe I'm getting that confused as opposed to the employee's anniversary.
So I'd have to refer to the mayor. I certainly could be just trying to remember exactly what took place at North Bend, and I'm coinciding or merging the two together for the most part. But I think we were struggling maybe at my previous city because all the performance evaluations would be taking place at the same time, which in essence is very painful for HR at that moment, as well as a lot of the directors as well, to have to go through so many performance evaluations simultaneously. And so consequently, if you were able to stretch that out over the course of a year and just do one this month, one the next month, for example, it may be easier for us to manage as well as focus on that individual person and give them the time and attention that we need to really, really provide not positive, but accurate feedback for their performance over the course of their year.
Mary, you had your hand up?
I do, and so, there are some people that were recently promoted, and so their anniversary date is actually the anniversary date of the promotion. So they're promoted in November, even though they were hired maybe last February, promoted in November, then November 2024 is when they will have their review. But we are trying to spread out all the reviews. For instance, like the firefighters, although they're not Teamsters, I think they have all of them are reviewed like in November. And so that's just a big task for your supervisors and directors, and you just want to make sure that you spend more time individually with each person and develop their performance plan, it's for training, and just kind of go through all those factors.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, at this stage, I propose this move forward to get on the council agenda, have discussion at next council. And say this agenda bill assumes we're not doing pay for performance, which is the next agenda bill, which rescinds that program. So I propose that one also move forward to council for agenda. It's kind of a package deal here.
Yeah,
So
I'm good with that.
Drew, is there anything in particular in that second one other than we're changing it from pay for performance to longevity that we should discuss?
No, it should just be relatively straightforward, just a repeal of a previous resolution adopting that pay for performance system.
Just the question then. Let's just pretend that the council passed this, but not the repeal. Like, it's probably not going to happen. Just wondering, like, why not just put them together and do them at the same time, to just avoid that, even though it's probably not going to happen.
One's a resolution.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. All right, with that, I'll consider the agenda bills. We discussed those and we'll move those on. I assume none of those are consent, and we'll review the council agenda a little later down. I did want a discussion on council town hall meeting. Again, as I put it out in the email, and I kind of want a discussion at council this just February 29th, it's a leap year. So we got an extra day this year. Why don't we use that as a chance for us to engage with the public, with staff help, administration help, find a venue for us to do that, do some advertisement, get them coming. My thoughts are a pretty open meeting. We ought to have discussions at the committee levels of what subjects we think we may come up and get prepped up for, but that to leave the agenda open. The other option is we could decide these are specific agenda items we think are important that we want to discuss, or go half and half. I think I'll throw that out, but I think that's kind of a discussion I'd like to have at the council level to get us all seven of us talking together what we think that meeting ought to look like. Do you guys got any feedback on the idea so far? Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I certainly support the idea. I saw, and now I'm not finding it, that the administration had proposed another event on that date. Not that perhaps I couldn't do both, I'm not sure, but in concept, sure. Definitely we need to think about the kind of forum that we want to have. It could just be we just gather around City Hall. We just kind of stand around, and if people want to talk to us, they can. Another possibility that would also be open would be that we sit in our proper spots, and folks can come up to the mic and ask us questions, and we could field them. And then obviously we could have something that's much more facilitated, as I see as sort of the range of possibilities. I think that I'd be more inclined toward the first option, or some combination between that and the second option. But again, this will be a good conversation with the rest of the council too.
Yep. Kara, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm obviously in support of any time that we can get additional public comment. I do hope that council members and the public will show up for the next couple open houses at the YMCA as well.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of going and having it at somewhere other than City Hall, where folks may feel more, I don't want to say willing and excited to come in, but that's kind of, it's nice to support our local businesses when we can as well. I hope that we can get people to attend. I did do, I think either one or two of the coffees last year, and there were some people that came by and it was helpful. But hopefully we can get some more.
Mayor, you have your hand up?
Yes, I believe the community center expansion town hall is on February 28th. So hopefully you'll be there. All the council.
Okay, so not the 29th, it was 28th.
Right, I think it's 28th.
Okay, thanks.
It'll be a busy week. But it's a leap year. It's an extra couple of days. Extra day. Go ahead, Catherine.
No, actually, I'm trying to lower my.
All right. Again, let's move that one forward. Have that discussion at council coming up. Next one was council retreat planning. I'm sorry, Kara, you have your hand up. Was that on the last subject?
It was. I was just going to make a quick reminder that on the 18th, which is tomorrow, that is one of the first open houses, assuming the weather permits. So you might get your wish tomorrow.
Who wants to lead the discussion on council retreat?
Thanks again. So our city administrator is home in the dark. We don't have electricity, so no Wi-Fi. And one bar of service, so. So basically, you know, to throw out some dates, but I think it's the council retreat, so. You know, if you have a council committee that can help plan it, usually it's the mayor pro tem, and then maybe. Do the F&A committee to do it, or offer to get some other volunteers. You know,
Well, let me.
cover during that time, and have maybe several different dates that you can look at.
So, Kara, Joe, do we want to have discussions in here about agenda and structure for that meeting to come, or do we want to kick off a special subcommittee to go look at doing that planning, which is what we did last year, doing that planning for the retreat? And I guess my sub question to that is, want to have that discussion here, or is that a discussion for council come Monday? Go ahead, Karen.
I'd kind of be curious to know how the last round of planning went for it, because I wasn't involved in that, but my inclination would be to have the conversation with all of council to make sure everybody's buying.
Okay. As you may judge from my email, I was not entirely happy with what happened last year. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I support asking the rest of the council, would they think should F&A take it, or do we want to make an ad hoc committee rather than us trying to make that decision here? And yeah, I there was good and bad at the last one. I'll leave it there.
Okay, yeah, so let's take that discussion to council, and really question the council is, do you want F&A to do the planning on this, or we do an ad hoc committee to go ahead? And if so, who's on the ad hoc committee, and we can start out of the council meeting planning that schedule out. Is that okay, Mayor Ross?
Yes, that's great. That works for me.
All right. With that, let's go ahead and move to ERP project status update.
All right, thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to share with everyone tonight a presentation. This is probably the first presentation this committee has received in at least a couple months at this point. So it's good that we're able to kind of get back around to it. That's not the first slide that you guys should be looking at. So anyway, just kind of getting into this a little bit. Welcome back to the ERP project. I know council had a very extensive discussion last year regarding the budget overall for this project, and we'll get into that a little bit as we get towards the end. But I just want to kind of give a brief overview, since probably the last time the F&A committee received this presentation. There's probably been a lot of questions. What has changed? Well, what has probably changed most dramatically with this project is that we've got new project management leadership in place for the most part. So Sarah has departed the city of Snoqualmie. As a consequence, your finance director here is going to be taking over phases 1 through 3 to manage the project from here on out. In addition, you've got your interim Parks and Public Works Director, Jeff Hamlin, also providing project management support over phase 4. And we'll get into what those phases are in just a little bit here. In terms of departed resources, relatively recently, Christina, who was our ERP project director, on kind of a limited term employment contract, has left the city as of the end of the year. In addition to that, our database analyst, Asker, has also left the city too. So we've had a lot of kind of change in resources overall to help us manage the budget over time. And so we are charging forward as fast as we possibly can. So a question that might be, where are we going? Well, as the city administrator said fairly recently in one of our leadership meetings overall, it's a new year and it's going to be full of new processes. And that's what we're kind of looking forward to. The ERP system itself is not an end, it's a means to an end. That end is having proper internal controls, making the city more efficient when it comes to managing our financial resources and so on. And so as a consequence, we're really looking forward into really developing those new processes, how we can better structure our internal controls, making sure that duties are properly segregated, and so on in this upcoming year. The goal by the end of the year is to complete all 4 phases, which will be certainly a heavy load for us to try to accomplish, but it's one that we need to get to. Currently, right now, we're probably about a year behind where the initial project timeline was at this point. And so to a certain extent, we would need to really play catch up a little bit, or at least make sure that we're staying on course as we go through this year. So a question you may have as well is, where are we currently? And just to get into that a little bit here, phase 1 were the financial modules overall. What you'll see up here is kind of a stage and milestone overall. There's roughly about 7 stages in total that I could see overall. The first stage was initiate and plan. Second stage is assess and define. Munis would then prepare the solution. We would engage in some testing and validation. Munis would then cut over to our production site. We would then provide end user training. And then ideally at the end, we would be closing out each and every single module. So I've got the modules listed below that, that we've purchased through our contract with Tyler, as well as some of the productivity modules as well. And so you'll notice kind of the different color codes a little bit here on quite a few of the modules that you see before you. We're kind of at this end user training stage overall that we intend to get to over the next couple months on quite a few of these. In addition to that, you'll see that some are currently stuck at that assess and define stage. And these have been primarily deferred last year overall. So several of the modules included initially within phase 1 have been deferred for future consideration of their necessity and expense. That includes the things that you see in pink, such as purchasing, e-procurement, capital assets, project and grant accounting, and contract management. These modules currently do not have an equivalent within the current legacy system, which is Springbrook, and therefore would overall be new to the operations and management of the department. So consequently, from what the city has focused on this past year was trying to get those core modules up and running that would replace the legacy system. And then ideally later, after some sort of exploration regarding their necessity and expense, may choose to implement those modules. If we happen to choose not to implement those modules, then Tyler will give us a reduction in our SaaS fees, which are our subscription charges on an annual basis. In addition to this, the finance department is working to develop and provide end user training. So currently we've got Jana, our budget manager, working on developing kind of a reporting framework for directors and managers to go and access budgetary information, hopefully by the end of next month. In addition to that, we are decentralizing accounts payable so that really it's up to the departments to import their invoices into Tyler Munis, and then we would handle the processing from there. But that requires a lot of end user training, and we would hope to accomplish that by the end of March 2024. As a part of this, yours truly, the finance director here, has to get a hold on the security that we have to get in place around each and every single user to make sure that they're not given access above and beyond to what's required for the role that they play overall at the city. In addition to that, we have to make sure that the workflow and business rules are set up appropriately within the system too. So I've been trying to dive into that to kind of figure that out for the most part so that we can set up our permissions as much as possible going into a lot of this end user training. So moving on to just phase number 2 here, which is where a lot of our time and effort is going right now. This involves human capital management, which includes the modules payroll, human resources, recruiting, and then there's a time and attendance piece to this puzzle as well. The go live date for the payroll modules specifically has been delayed to the April 1st to 15th payroll period from the initially planned January 1st to the 15th payroll period. We were on a collision course to failure, basically, if we did not delay that by about 3 months. In essence, we don't, it's very risky to not have your payroll turn out well. If people don't get paid or things like that, that's a pretty traumatic situation for the city overall. So with that said, the decision was made to delay that by 3 months to at least the first payroll period in April. The finance director, myself, we've been working to restructure and reshuffle the department's available resources to achieve the new target date. So making sure that the payroll clerk isn't having to work necessarily in both Springbrook, our legacy system, and try to figure out Tyler Munis simultaneously. We're trying to have others fill in the gap so that maybe she just focuses in Tyler Munis, while we've got another employee at the city focusing on helping her manage Springbrook overall and so on, so that we can just have her, like I said, specifically focus on really what's most critical, which is getting Tyler Munis up and running. In addition to that, employees have received their new roles and responsibilities in order to build towards a successful go-live date that will include multiple parallel processing runs. So not only do we need to process the payroll in Springbrook, which would be our system, but we need to make sure that those numbers tie together to what we're seeing produced out of Tyler Munis too, so that we know that the Tyler Munis system, which we will transfer to eventually, is accurate and running correctly. As well as we need to make sure that we also engage in a complete validation of the solution itself, which means testing all separate components basically within the module itself and making sure that that testing is perfect. Activities recently within this phase itself have included the continued configuration of the payroll system, setting up the appropriate pay code tables, and developing critical but temporary timesheet solution that allows the city to import employee hours into Munis. And so I just want to thank our current management analyst, Krista, for her help on that. Phase 3, which we haven't really started at all, it's still at the initiation and planning stage, is utility billing. There's really 2 modules associated with this, but I know that other cities certainly have had their struggles with utility billing and actually getting it fully implemented. The city of Issaquah, they've started implementing Tyler Munis, I think back in roughly 2017, and it took them 6 years to actually get to completion. And they just finally wrapped up their utility billing recently, which is quite an accomplishment, but we certainly do not want to take 6 years in order to reach the end of this project itself. So unfortunately, our financial specialist L1 that handles B&O taxes in our business licensing system has been out long-term due to a medical issue, and therefore implementation of the utility billing module is currently kind of paused right now, just primarily because we need the revenue manager as well as our utility billing clerk focused on supporting that area while she's out. And then finally, the last phase of this is enterprise asset management, which has a lot more to do with the Parks and Public Works Department. This covers the modules asset management, asset performance, and Tyler GIS. At the start of this year, they actually kicked it off for the most part. They've started the system design process with the implementation consultant, which includes an analysis of their current state and desired future state. So I know they've had robust discussions on this, and they've involved pretty much all the division managers into this as well. I think they're a bit excited because they would love to beat the finance department to the punch and get their phase completed before we get our 3 phases completed. So there's a bit of a competition there, and I think that helps to motivate us as well moving forward. So with that said, just to go over the total budget itself, we have a total life of project budget of roughly $3.4 million with roughly $1.8 million spent. That includes both implementation and the SaaS fees that we're paying. Now, when it comes to also, we have to consider what's been encumbered as well as part of any contracts let. And so consequently, just focusing on the project implementation budget, we see that between the expenditures and the outstanding contract value, really we have a current available budget of $31,000 that we could allocate towards something, which is not a whole heck of a lot. So in essence, the decisions to reduce resources overall to the project in order to remain within the budget itself is certainly valid, because we do want to remain within our limits here. It's going to require kind of a smarter way of operating within the department itself in order to make sure that everything that we have incorporated into this project and all the modules are finished and finished on time. So with that said, I'm sure there's a lot of questions, and I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Can you go back to slide 2? One more. Okay. So ERP systems are the circulatory and nervous system of the organization. Okay. Cardiologist just left the room, and the family says, "We can do it." Tell me that's kind of way this appears. Tell me there's a cardiologist somewhere in this mix that's helping us with. Is that the contract back with Munis? Are they telling us how this should operate? I'm worried that the knowledge we did have about the ERP system in question left, and you kind of need that knowledge to do this right.
So there certainly is knowledge, and I've been trying to do my best to build up that knowledge base. Basically, the good news is I think phases 1 as well as 2 are, we're getting pretty close to probably wrapping up quite a few of these modules within phase 1. So in terms of the trauma required in setting up the system isn't going to necessarily be as extensive. Certainly there are some modules outstanding here that you see on the list, but these are not necessarily the core modules at all within the city itself. And when it comes to phase 2, I think we have a good understanding of where we are. Certainly a lot of configuration has taken place. In fact, we're intending to do an audit with Tyler here on the 25th to see kind of what is left outstanding after those resources have departed overall, so that we have a clear picture of what we need to accomplish. A lot of this is a step-by-step process overall. And just from my experience or from what I've seen, we've got an instruction manual. Tyler has provided those instructions to us about how to pursue this. I'm not quite sure if it requires an outside project manager necessarily to actually accomplish this with us, because we will be relying upon Tyler for that support overall. Indeed, it would be very valuable to potentially have more resources, but we understand the constraints that we're under. To a certain extent, I would say over time, maybe the finance department has not done the greatest job of picking up where some of it was left off, right, necessarily in the past. And so consequently, it will require some sacrifice on our part in order to get this up to speed. The pressure is on. The pressure is being sensed by a lot of people within our staff itself, from the administration, that we have to get moving on this. And that's our intention at this point. And I need to make sure that I can motivate my staff and properly allocate the resources that I have currently at my disposal to make sure that they're as effective as possible. And, we'll see where we are. The important part of this is constant communication between us, the administration, and council, so that you guys know where we are without any varnish, basically. We don't want to gloss over the flaws or the warts, basically, that we may be experiencing. And then we can actively, if we come to you quickly and in relatively short order, then we can work on solving those problems together.
Okay, I just understand, and we're a year behind, so that past cardiologist, may have substituted a liver for a heart. I don't know, but I just, Drew, you're taking on a lot. If it's just, I'm giving you, if you need something, give us a call, because I am concerned. You're taking on a lot. I appreciate what you're doing, but you have a free call to say, I have a help needed. Mayor Ross?
I agree with everything that Drew said, and, you know, Mike Chalmers has been championing this pretty much for like the last, year and a half.
Mhm.
And I think, and well, if he was here, he'd be able to explain it more, but I think the other approaches, we want directors such as Jeff Hamlin and Drew, that they are the ones, they're ensuring that they get the training as well as all of their employees get the training, because they're responsible for the individual modules, so they have to fully understand it. And so
Mhm.
part of that, Tyler provides like classroom training for them, and they actually work through different scenarios on, I don't know, you get your purchase order, how to enter a purchase order, and all the different things you need to do. So, you know, we did have someone that kind of pretty much did a lot of that for us, but now it's time for departments to take on their modules and implement it. So HR, Kim Johnson's very involved with her module on setting that up, and like finances and so on, so. But we're small, we're also a small city, right? And so we're doing regular work and then also the Tyler implementation.
Karen,
Yeah, I'll
Joe, any
just-
questions? Go ahead. Go ahead, Drew.
I was just going to echo that for the most part. What we've had in the past is kind of this diffused leadership over the project where it was really someone outside of the finance director's office that was managing the project. And so she may have struggled to get some of the employees within the department to actually own the modules themselves. And so by putting me within this position itself, it's going to force us to own the modules a lot more than probably what we did before, which is why this is probably a necessary change overall, is how we structure the project moving forward and who's actually the leadership or providing that leadership over the project. So it should come from the finance director, not necessarily an IT project manager that can't motivate the staff, you know, necessarily. It has to come from the top down.
I'll agree with that part. I just, so my father did go through open heart surgery. And at the end of it, we were told, here's the medication, here's the health regimen, everything else. And he got sepsis. We as a family knew no idea what was going on and what to deal with that. So I'm, again, for the analogy of open heart surgery, if things start, if the patient starts to sweat and shake uncontrollably, raise a flag. We're in this all together. That's all I really want to say, Drew.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And yeah, you have over time, and we thank you for that help and support that you've provided and leadership over this as well. And yeah, we're looking forward to getting this completed. I've told my staff basically it's like a marathon, 23.2 miles. You know, we don't want to live in purgatory at the 15th mile mark, right? And sit down, you know, with our hands right in our face, basically. We actually want to get this thing completed as soon as possible because our lives will go back to normal if we do so.
Yeah.
You know, and we want to make sure it's accurate when we're doing that, but we can't live in this state forever. We're not going to be successful with that or trying to run two systems simultaneously. So the faster and the more accurate that we can get through it, the better overall. There's a horizon out there. They've had a lot of accomplishments over time just to get to this stage, and I have to remind them of those accomplishments, right? But there's certainly a lot more to go, but we'll get there. We will.
All right. Joe, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, just one other little thing is, you know, as projects creep along and the longer they take, also they tend to start to cost more. So just another reason. Another thing that, especially given our recent discussions on counts with regard to the budget, something that that's always on my mind is the cost and trying to keep those down.
Okay. Any other discussion in regards to that, or ready for the next agenda item? All right, let's move on to public comment discussion. I leave the room and you guys have all kinds of fun. help me out, because what's out there suppressed or took out unwarranted or undesirable public comment. In general terms, not in specific terms, but in general terms, what kind of public non-germane, and I assume derogatory public comments were made in the last council meeting? What was the nature of those comments?
I would say hateful speech.
Okay. Against a particular class of people?
Yes.
Unacceptable. I agree.
And violent.
And violent words. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, certainly at minimum a veiled threat of violence. It wasn't like a specific "I am going to do this" kind of statement, but it was the intent to entice harm, I think, was explicit.
Well, joy. And we wanted to have a discussion in regards. I understand we have some verbiage. I think we could shorten a little bit. Some suggested verbiage that we read in front of public comment. Is there additional discussion in regards to what happened last council? Go ahead, Catherine.
Well, Kara, Councilman Christian, if you want.
All right, go ahead, Kara.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask whether this is the appropriate form to have the conversation or whether we should really be having it with council again. I would probably recommend having it with council and making a decision there and then issuing a statement as necessary from there.
Agreed, and that also has to do with perhaps yeah, just sort of what kind of public facing things we want to have said, because it is treading onto a number of different waters that are iffy. So I'd love to talk to legal counsel on these matters.
Go ahead, Mayor Ross.
And we put it on here to figure out how you want to carry this forward. But there's options. So some of the cities no longer allow public comment online. People can submit emails by like 5 p.m. that day, or they can come into City Hall and they have public comment there. And so, like, I think North Bend's done that, and I know our city clerk, Dean, is talking with other cities as to what they've done. Our school system doesn't even allow public comment online anymore. And so there's some different things we can consider.
Okay. Would this be can this be a subject of executive session next council? I'm not sure it falls within the definition of what is allowed. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I would hope so, because if we did take an action without legal counsel, then it's like, then we could be stepping in hot water. It's like I want to know if something is legal or illegal to do before I do it. So anyway, there's that. And then there's something else. Come back to me.
Okay, Kara.
I would probably just recommend reaching out to the interim city attorney and asking for his recommendation in terms of whether that can be the subject of an executive session or the other closed session, just to make sure we have our ducks in a row before talking about this further. And I would be fine if the city attorney recommends that we take action to walk it on at the beginning, if we need to do that, or have you do it.
Yeah.
We could just move to add.
Yeah, we can move to add the executive session as required. Mayor Ross, can you check with the attorney if this is an appropriate subject for an executive session? Or if so, advise, and we can.
I guess I don't know where you're asking them. I mean, we can decide. Council could talk about what they want to do for public comment.
Yeah, but I'd like to know what the potential legal exposure is and potential risk, so that we can minimize any potential exposure to the city for comments that may not be helpful or actions that may not be prudent.
Councilman Johnson?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in some of the options that that the mayor mentioned, but exactly how that's implemented and the kind of notice that we might have to give to the public, I don't know if we need to give any. Maybe we could just make a change. But if so, does the council need to then vote on that or not? So I just have questions on what we can and can't do. And yeah, I don't want to make a motion that we do something and then us do it and then find out, oh wait, we shouldn't have done that. So anyway, point being, yes, I'm fine with us asking the city attorney if there's a good if there's a specific justification for such an executive session. But I wouldn't also want to just spring it on the city attorney all of a sudden. It'd be great if perhaps the mayor pro tem, somebody emailed them ahead of time saying, hey, this is what we want to do. Here are kind of the general ideas behind why we think we need to have this discussion in that way. And is that justified?
Yeah, we can definitely ask them.
Yeah,
And-
that's yeah, exactly. That's just like a sudden, hey, can we do this on the moment? Yeah.
And because of exposure concerns, yeah, Mayor Ross, you and I may want to have a conversation with the attorney, and we can bring forward to council at least kind of a proposal in which some of those exposure issues we can talk not exposed, put it that way, and bring that forward. So anytime after 3:30, I'm available. We can get online, or hopefully the weather goes away and I can come down. And maybe we can have a proposal for discussion or path forward coming into next council meeting. And have a discussion offline in regards to that. Okay. I'm reluctant to go forward. You're aware we've been asked for comment from the newspaper as council. I've said we should do that as a council, not as individuals. So I may need some legal advice as to what is appropriate to say in response, which kind of leads into the overall broad conversation here. And I don't want to. I have my opinion, but I'm not sure I want that to be the headlines. So I'm not going to say it. Okay.
City Clerk Dean had her hand up. Maybe she has additional input.
Dina?
Yes, thank you. So I was just reviewing the executive session RCW, and it seems like the paragraph that would apply would be litigation or legal risks of a proposed action or current practice that the agency has identified when public discussion of the litigation or legal risks is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. So I feel like that's the one that would apply, but I guess I would propose that I run this by Council Linehan, and then we could put it on for an executive session for Monday. See what he thinks.
Agreed.
Okay, I
Please.
agreed. If he says if it doesn't pass the sniff test for executive session, I'd like to know that, and then again, I'd like to take a different path to put together a proposal. So some of those issues I don't have to discuss in open forum.
Right. I think that's excellent.
All right.
Thank you. Okay.
If you'll let me know what his feedback is, I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I think that one's upcoming agenda. So that's for discussion for future discussions. Let's go ahead and review the council agenda. Why don't I go ahead and I don't want to do that. I think I want to do that one. You guys should be seeing the council agenda.
Yes.
All right. All right, the usual, we'll do a roll call, call to order, roll call, pledge of allegiance, agenda approval, public hearings. We have a public hearing in regards to, let's get that out of the way. Resolution regarding Public Records Act records management policy, updated fee structure. Yeah. Which committee is that coming out of? Or did come out of?
FNA, right?
That was the FNA committee, yes.
Okay,
From last year.
last year, all right. Then council members ceremonial oath of office. Kara, Cotton, Washington, and Watton. Congratulations again. Mayor Ross, you have your hand up?
Yes, and Cotton's not on there, but she will be added. Or did you already add it? Oh, you already added her, never mind. I have it on the, sorry.
Hi, and then we'll have fire department badge pinning, Chief Bailey and Lieutenant Laswell. Appointment of Economic Development Commission. And 2024 Council Liaison Regional Appointments. I apologize. I did not plan to be away for a week. So that one, I'll see what I can do in a week. That one may slide a week. I apologize for that, but family events overtook me. Fire department recognition, Catherine Cotton. You're starting. Is this your second career? Oh, she's not here. This is second career for her. All right, and 2023 year in review and proclamations. Public comment requests, items not on the agenda, approval of city. Go ahead.
So the year review, we're actually gonna move that to reports.
Okay. Dina, will you take note of that?
Yes, I have that.
All right. All right, and then we'll risk public comments again. If I guess my question is, should we have a discussion about public comments or executive session about public comments before we do public comments in this next council meeting? Christopher Johnson?
Yeah, I think that we should, assuming that it is approved to do so, so that if we want to make certain adjustments to how it's done, other kinds of limitations we might want to impose, etc., that's done before we do it. Yeah.
Okay. Councilman Christensen?
Agree completely.
All right, so before public comments, can we put a discussion or executive session in regards to public comments?
Yes.
All right. And then we'll move to consent agenda items, which will approve the city council minutes stated January 8th, approve the claims approval report January 22nd, 2024 legislative priorities, agenda bill 24018, resolution 1678 ratifying emergency proclamation, and 2419 model train MOU extension. I believe I'm in full support of the MOU for the train extension. But we're not going to have council discussion on that. Go ahead, Mayor Ross.
Let's see, so it is, actually, they're extending it for a year this time, but it's the same MOU. It's expired, and so they'll be extending it for a year.
Councilman Johnston, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was gonna say if that's the only change, then I'm fine with having it on consent. I almost wonder if it should just say that right there. I'll train MOU extension for 1 year or something. Anyway, just to make it a little more obvious. But I suppose if any council member wants to pull it, they can. The only other question was, do we have a copy of the emergency proclamation or email somewhere, just so I could see it in case I wanted to pull it, or is it available? Not that I intend to, just
No,
such that I could.
I was merely because there were several hands that went up all at once there, and then one remained up. Dina, you have a comment in regards to that?
I can email it out right now.
Yeah, that'd be great. And if I want to pull it, then I can. Otherwise, I'm fine with having it there.
So.
Go ahead, Mayor Ross.
So it is, so we already did a emergency proclamation. Today, to close City Hall. And in order to have a remote only meeting, it has to be a city emergency or something. You cannot just have a remote only meeting. And so otherwise you have people stationed at City Hall. Among other things, if there's any additional costs because of the snow and the ice and things like that, that would help cover that. So.
Thank you, Chair. Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Jones.
Yeah, admittedly, not exactly germane, but good job on the plowing. That was quick that the trucks were out there.
Thank you.
All right. So then we have ordinances, biennial budget amendment for appropriate collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters. Had those discussions. Ordinance establishing a 0.1% sales tax, utility tax with the boundaries. Okay, this will be second reading, so it'll be for action. And then we'll move into committee reports. Public safety. Don't believe there was a meeting. Was there a meeting this week?
There was a meeting, we went over goals and priorities,
Okay.
but I'm no longer.
And community development committee.
No, we have not met this month.
Okay. Dina, were you going to make comment on that?
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Parks and Public Works. I think you see most of the agenda bills here. And then Finance Administration, as we talked, resolution regarding public record policy is a continuation of discussion we had last time. And council meeting schedule, we talked earlier. Resolution 1670 provides submission of a ballot proposition qualified electors city at an election held August 6th regarding 1% public safety sales tax. Okay. And salary schedule, longevity pay system for management, non-represented professional employees, and resolution appealing the 806 concerning establishment of pay for performance management system. Any questions, comments, or go backs in regards to those? All right, and we did have committee of the whole council retreat planning discussion. Okay, I'll have that one there. Can we also put in there discussion on council open house? You'll grab that, Dina?
Yes, I have that. Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll move mayor's reports, commission liaison reports, and council regional liaison reports, excuse me. And executive session. Is this just a placeholder?
This is an actual one.
Okay. And Mary, you have your hand up. Was there additional?
Did you want to have a conversation? I know we're gonna have executive session, public comment. Did you want a conversation in the committee of the whole on public comment?
I want to have that right after the executive session up front. So if there's any changes in process or whatever, we state it up front before we go to public comment. So you may split it up to say executive session and then open discussion as two items just before public comments.
Okay.
Dina, you have your hand up?
Yes. So the 2023 year in review, which report should we put that under? Is that under mayor's report or is it under committee reports?
We'll put it, this city administrator actually be doing that, so
So we create a new report?
Sure.
Yeah, why don't we put it right after mayor's report, year in review?
I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we have executive session and then adjournment. Any go backs, questions, or comments in regards to the agenda as reviewed? Given the comments made, we're okay with proceeding with this agenda for next council meeting? All right.
Yep.
As discussed, it is approved. Dina, hopefully you've got all those comments and we'll dive into it in the next council meeting.
I think I got them all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we have gone through the agenda. Mayor Ross, you have your hand up. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted. I like the hand movements, but
I
you're
know, So we're actually gonna take our full council picture, and so if we can do that maybe right before council meeting starts, maybe like at 6:45. We can get all there.
Can we send out a note to council to remind them and have our, have our best clothes on?
That's right. That sounds good, so 6:45.
6:45. All right.
It's.
I can't borrow your jacket if we're all together.
Not if we're all together. There's only one jacket, guys. You could have left arm, I could have right, but it would look funny. All right, with that, we're at the end of the agenda. Any objection to adjournment? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Everyone stay warm and stay in the light.
Thank
Talk to
you.
you later.
Bye.